This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 71. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak, brought to you in conjunction with WorldFamousComics.com. Your spot on the internet for the best comic book and entertainment-related columns, contests, features, reviews, news, resources, and more. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Peter Rios.
We are sexy bitches, yeah!
And welcome to the show. How's everyone tonight?
All right.
Stuffed on Halloween candy.
Yeah, but you got that good sugar buzz going. So
Now, does your family buy the good candy, like the little Snickers and Milky Ways?
Yep.
They don't buy like the El Crapo
Peeps.
Snuckers and Two Musketeers.
No, it's actually the candy corn that I've been. We have a whole jar of it, and nobody in the house likes it.
I love
so
that
like,
stuff.
That's because nobody really eats that stuff. It's like fruitcake. You know, everybody has just one fruitcake.
I
love
love
it.
candy corn.
I love it.
I've never been a big candy corn fan.
Wow. Hey, we just want to let everyone know that this episode is sponsored by Drawer Boxes. I don't have an official press release for them. It's the website is collectiondrawer.com, and some of the guys on the forum actually made us aware of these, I don't know, like 2 months ago or so. And what they are is they are comic boxes that actually slide in and out of a cardboard, like square box. Like it looks like a long box with no lid, and instead it has an encasing of cardboard that it slides in and out of. So the benefit of this is that you can stack them up like 4 or 5 high, and then you don't have to lift all the boxes off of the other boxes. You just slide the box out of the encasing that it's in, and then you get at your comics. They sent us 5 of these as a sample, and they are awesome. I have them proudly in my room. I just placed an order today for 10 more.
Are you serious?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I did. I went for it because they are great, and I can't wait to have them all nice and neat in my room. I'm very excited. So if you, and the great thing about this is, see, there are 2 schools of thought on the storage of the comic boxes. The one is you just stack your boxes up, and you conserve space because everything's stacked. But if you want to get to the bottom, you got to throw your back out, lifting off 3 or 4 boxes to get to them. Or, like Shane and I have done, is we have shelves with the boxes on so that we can just slide the box on the bottom right off. But then you waste space because you have gaps in between your boxes, and you have to pay for the shelves. And, the shelves, you can't put the boxes right next to each other because you got to leave room for the different shelves, and so it's not quite as neat looking as when they're all stacked up. So this allows you the best of both worlds. So in my small room, I'll actually squeeze 16 long boxes into the space that I used to have 9. So that gives me much more room for shelves for my trade paperbacks. I mean, you saw them, you liked them, right?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of I guess you could almost even say they look like filing cabinets in a way. I mean, it's the same idea of just drawers that slide in and out. And you said they're slightly smaller than a long box?
Slightly shorter than a long box, but not a short box.
Right.
So, but
and
you hold a lot of comics.
When I saw yours, you weren't packing them to the gills anyway. So, you give your comics a little bit of room.
Well, yeah, for new editions.
Right.
But they're strong enough that this guy was at San Diego this year, and he actually took a box and stood on top of it. It did not collapse, and they were still able to slide the drawer out of the cardboard enclosure. So it's all cardboard, but it's really structurally sound. I mean, I have them stacked 4 high, and the one on the bottom, you slide that sucker in and out, no problem. The weight on top does not hurt it in any way at all. So they're very cool. And you can check it out, collectiondrawer.com. And, I think you'll like them if you're worried about space. And some of the guys on the forum weren't sure if they should get them or not. Well, I can tell you that I think you'll like them because I really do.
And what's the pricing on those?
They are, I have their website pulled up here. Let me get it correct. Just waiting at the collectiondrawer.com. Collectiondrawer.com. Collectiondrawer.com.
Sunday.
Hang on, we're almost there.
What was that again?
Collectiondrawer.com. Not .org, not .net, .com.
The other reason I brought up the pricing, because I know what they are, but because we were trying to compare them to just regular long boxes, and they're not that much more when we figured it out, right? I mean, it's the...
Yeah. 5 of them are $43.75. So it says that's $8.75 per box, then plus shipping. And the shipping depends on where you live. They're based in Colorado, in Denver, I think. So the farther away you are from Denver, the more it costs. Because let me tell you, they're heavy. Like, it's a gigantic box. They come 5 in a box, and it's gigantic, and it weighs a ton. So the shipping that they're charging is I mean, that's what it costs to ship something that heavy.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, so you can go to their website and check them out.
Yeah, I mean, it may seem like it's a lot, but I've seen some boxes as low as $4.95. But Jamie, you said like even up to like $6 something. You've seen a long box. So
yeah,
and if you figure the cost of the long box plus shelves, like if you want to be able to get to the bottom boxes on the bottom, like my shelves were like $40 a pop, and I have 2 of them,
right.
So that's $80 I spent just in shelves, and it would be cheaper then to just have paid extra for these boxes and not have to worry about the shelves. So
and I look at my long boxes that I have, and I just stack my long boxes on top of each other, and the lids, eventually they they cave a little bit,
right.
And if you slide a heavy long box on top of another long box, sometimes you even get like a little rip in it, like a divot or something because of the corners, and so they don't hold up. I have a lot of long boxes that, although I've had them for years, they're pretty beaten up. But these, you don't ever have to do anything with these.
Nope. All right, a reminder that this month's Book of the Month club selection is The Goon, Volume 1, from Dark Horse Comics. And you can pick that up, if you would like, at instocktrades.com. And they are pleased to announce that they now have Dark Horse trades available on there. That's a new edition just in the past month. And that's 40% off. And they're also offering Goon Volume 0 as well as 1 through 4. So basically 0 through 4, all at 40% off. So if you want any of the trades of Goon, not just number 1, they're all discounted by an extra 5%. So please join us in reading the Goon this month, and we'll have a nice discussion on that. Thank you to instocktrades.com. New contest. It's November.
Da-da-da-da.
New contest.
We
And
purposely held off in October because we were
getting caught up. We had that. We stretched out the last one for too much, and it was all confusing. And
right.
We apologize for our inconsistency in the contest business in October. It was a little crazy.
Well, we were also hoping for more entries in the last contest.
Well, that's true. We were a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, our new contest was actually not our idea. It was suggested to us by Cameron, the guy who's in charge of DCBService.com, the place where we all buy our comics from, and the place that also runs InStockTrades.com. So if you've listened to the show before, you know that we love these guys and we buy our books and we think they're the greatest. And they're going to start sponsoring some episodes for us. And before they do that, they would like to have some cool music that is their own. For like when you hear this music, you'll just think DCBS, and you'll know. Just Cameron used the example of Tom's movie news segment. When you hear that, you get chills, and he's hoping that somebody out there can create some music that can be used for their sponsorship spots,
like a jingle.
Yeah, kind of like something lively and invigorating. Sure. and
you don't
chill-inducing.
You don't have any of like Tom's old movie news that you could play?
Let me see if I have it.
Something heroic, I think is really what they're going for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent choice of words. Let me see.
And something you won't get sued over, too.
Yeah, it can't be somebody else's music. It's got to be original. Here's Tom's music.
got 6 minutes of deadline, Jonah. We need page 1.
Everybody loves a hero.
So that's very energizing. So the deal is the winner, and of course Cameron gets to pick the winner because it's his spot, gets $100 worth of trades and merchandise or whatever. He hasn't. I think he's going to give me a list of what you get, and he hasn't supplied me with that list yet. So we'll keep you updated. But the value of the prize will be $100 worth of stuff. That's what he did for our contest that we had before, sponsored by InStockTrades.com, and it was a whole mess of trades that totaled up to $100. And in fact, Tom won that, right? That was Tom.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He did.
So this is your chance to get $100 worth of merchandise. So get cracking. That's cool.
It's way cool. I'm so jealous.
So
I know. I wish I could enter.
So it makes me wish I could write music. Jeez.
Well, anybody who has GarageBand, any Mac users out there, GarageBand comes with all kinds of free loops, and you can just piece them together and make songs. Like I did it for some DVD background music and stuff. It's so simple. So it's like anybody who's got GarageBand, man, you can get working. That's worth it for $100.
Hey, technically, we're not the judges, so why can't we enter? I mean, we're not judging this.
That's true. Yeah. I guess you could. We could trick him and say,
yeah.
I'm
Peter
Tim
Rivers
Sabian from Minnesota, and I want to get some trade paperbacks.
I'll whip out my piano skills, long lost piano skills.
Can I tap dance for trades?
That sounds like our next contest.
Tap dancing for trades. So what do you say we do some listener emails here?
Sounds good.
All right. I didn't pick any out ahead of time because I'm a slacker. But I did write down in my show prep, do listener emails.
So you're following.
I'm prepared,
following
baby.
Thing.
Let's see. I'm just going to randomly pick one here. Okay. This one's from Jarek Hershey from Washington, Spokane, and he says, "Hey guys, love the show. Just wanted to let you know, contrary to what was said, that the Dangerous Habits storyline from Hellblazer was penned by Garth Ennis." So did we talk about that on the show at some point in the past? This is from October 19th, so it's not that long ago.
Yeah, I think we did.
I guess we said it was somebody else.
Yeah, I think we weren't sure if it was Ennis or if it was somebody else, or Jamie Delano.
Oh, yeah, that could be. So, well, it's Garth Ennis.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from Spokane. We stand corrected.
All right.
That was a neat sound. I like that.
This is cool. All right. Hi, Comic Geeks. I've been listening to your show for a couple of months now, and I'm still in the process of catching up. Comic Geek Speak was one of the first podcasts I found when I started listening to them back in July, and it's one of the few I'm still enjoying. I started at number 1, and I'm slowly but surely listening my way through the backlog. I'm currently at 36, so I guess I'll catch up with you sometime in November. I like the spontaneous nature of your discussions. It works very well since you all obviously know your stuff and have thought the issues through at some point. You also get really in-depth about things you talk about, which I also like. I didn't get into superhero comics until a few years ago myself, but since then I've read quite a lot of Marvel and a few indie books. I did read comics as a kid, though. All Norwegian children are taught to love Donald Duck from an early age. See, this guy is from Norway.
Okay.
Donald Duck is the most popular Disney character over here, and the one character people think about when you mention comics. Sure, Norwegians recognize Spider-Man and Batman too, but I think those characters are mainly associated with movies and action figures rather than with comics. Mention Donald and the average Norwegian instantly thinks of the actual comic magazines. This is not to say that we don't get superhero comics over here, though. Translated Marvel comics are sold in supermarkets. I've yet to see any DC titles. But they don't sell nearly as well as Disney comics. Comic stores are few and far between unless you live in a relatively larger city, which I luckily do. They're the only places which carry the original untranslated books. More could be said about the Norwegian comics culture, but this email is already getting pretty lengthy. So keep up the great work and mark Norway off on your map. Cheers, Christian Kringstad Kilian. So,
a name like that, he better be from Norway.
That's right. So that's very cool, Christian. Thank you for I love when we hear from the international world. That's just so exciting for me personally. Which reminds me, I didn't put this on my list, but I'm going to mention it.
The map?
Yes, and let me check it right now. If you go to our website and you on the very main page, it says click for CGS World Domination Progress, and that takes you to a site called Frapper. And all you have to do is you either put in your zip code if you're in the U.S., or if you're in another country, you put in like the city closest to where you live or whatever, and then it puts a little like a pin on the map. We now have 185 people.
Whoa, that's double from the last time. You said there was like 90 before.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Look at that.
We have people all over the place now. We got a couple in South America. North America is just completely jam-packed. A bunch in Europe.
Who's that? Is that Hawaii?
That's Hawaii.
Hawaii? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's Darth Skeptical.
There's somebody in
Hawaii.
Alaska?
Yeah, we got somebody way up in Alaska. We have like 5 or 6 people in Australia, 2 in China, 1 in Japan.
I know we have more in Australia.
Yeah, they just haven't signed on yet. So it only takes about 2 minutes to go and add your city there or anything. You don't even need your email address or anything like that. Just so... I know we have a lot more listeners than 185, so I'm begging you to go to the website and please do that, because it's very cool to see where everyone's from.
It's also cool when 2 people are like really close to each other and they didn't know it before, and you see you see on the form, they're like, oh, I didn't know, 2 people from wherever, so that's kind of cool.
I'm surprised to see the ones from China and Japan in that one. I didn't realize we had any listeners out there.
I know, it's very cool. One's in Hong Kong, and one's in Shanghai in China, and then the Japan guy is in Hiroshima.
Cool.
Or Hiroshima. I'm not sure how the Japanese
So we have nobody in Russia yet.
No.
And nobody in Africa, right?
No one in Africa. Nobody in the Middle East. Or India. I would guess it. At some point we'll hit an Indian, because most of them speak English because of the British influence over there.
Oh wait,
so.
wasn't there somebody? Where's Jakarta?
Indonesia.
That's right. Greenland.
Looks like Greenland's wide open there too.
Yeah. So cool.
That's awesome. Look how cool that is.
And our boys in El Salvador have not signed on the map yet either.
Oh, come on, guys!
I don't know what that's all about. Ticoman, Britoman, where are you?
El Sensei.
El Sensei.
Did you see? We have on our forum, we post Halloween pictures.
I love that picture.
Oh, God. It's so funny because they're standing there, the Los Comiquicos guys, and they're carrying the Skype speaker that El Sensei usually speaks through with a mask on it. It's just hysterical. And you can see our Halloween pictures at the site as well.
Yeah, if you go into the gallery, I added a Halloween gallery. So those are some good pictures. We had a good time this year. Okay, here's another email from John. He says, hello, love the show. I just discovered it this September. First off, go Moon Knight. And can you do an episode on my second favorite, Ghost Rider? I'm from San Francisco, so add that to the map.
Jamie, you picked up the new
Ghost
Rider.
Yeah, you just talking about it.
Yeah, I was just talking about it. I really enjoyed it. I just picked up the latest incarnation of Ghost Rider written by Garth Ennis, and I think the first 3 are out there. I've only read the first 1, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the artwork was really nice. Ghost Rider really wasn't in it that much, but it had that feel that if you enjoyed the Preacher series that Garth Ennis did, it kind of has that feel to it. There's some big battle brewing between a whole bunch of angels, and they're looking to get Ghost Rider out of hell to help, and each side is trying to get him, and that's pretty much as far as I got. But there's some wacky stuff going on, some very, very Preacher-like stuff. So I recommend it. I'm looking forward to reading the second one and seeing where it goes.
I haven't read Ghost Rider in a long time.
For me, it had been since I mean, trying to think all the way back with like Midnight Suns around that time for Ghost Rider.
Do you remember when that one Ghost Rider issue came out with the glow-in-the-dark cover?
Mm-hmm.
I used to have that hanging on my wall, and it was always so cool at night. You know, you flick off the lights before you went to bed, and man, for 5 minutes you saw the glowing skull of Ghost Rider. That was probably one of the best uses of a gimmick cover because it actually was cool looking.
I was going to say, well, welcome back to the 90s.
That's right.
What about the Cyberspace 3000? I think it was a Marvel UK book, I think. And it was like the Marvel Universe in the future, and there was, like, Galactus was there. I don't know if he was dead or something like that. But they also had a glow-in-the-dark cover that was, I think it was Galactus's eyes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, whoa, these glow-in-the-dark covers.
There's also a really cool Spectre cover from the...
Oh, I think I remember that.
It was like either one or... It was in the low numbers, but that was a really cool cover, too.
Here's another email. Hey guys, I love your show. I haven't collected comics in about 10 years, and your show has renewed my interest again. I love your honesty about the topics you discuss. If something's great, you say so, and the same if it sucks. I'm really into... Well, we don't shy away from that. We give it to you straight. I'm really into collecting trades. I like to read a complete story at one time. Can you recommend anything that is a must-read? If you can, let me know what you think of Mark Grunwald's Squadron Supreme, one of my favorites. Thanks again, Sandman300. He's on our forum. Have you read that, Squadron Supreme? Because I haven't.
Actually, I read that as it was coming out, so that tells you how old I am. But, I enjoyed that. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I've heard people say they like it. I've heard people say they hate it. It's Squadron Supreme was always the JLA in the Marvel Universe. That was always what they were supposed to be. And it's just an entire story in that universe with those characters. It's not set in the regular Marvel Universe. It's set in their own universe. And I thought it was a good series. Did you read it, Peter?
I did. Do you think it really like they always compare it, like, they always say this is Watchmen before Watchmen came out. Do you think it's really on that level?
I think some of the things they did with it, some of the issues they dealt with it, the way they dealt with it, a little bit. I can't put it on that level in any way, shape, or form. I mean, to me, Watchmen is on the level of Shakespeare in regular literature.
Right.
And I can't put it there. I can put it on right below something that's really good, but it wasn't earth shattering. It wasn't a little bit groundbreaking, but it wasn't on the level that Watchmen was groundbreaking.
Right. I kind of almost put it in what Secret Wars was to Crisis. Squadron Supreme is kind of like to even less, than to... Because I mean, like...
Yeah, if you're saying, like, Secret Wars was Crisis Light, I could kind of go with Squadron Supreme was Watchmen Light.
Yeah. When I was reading it, I liked it, but I didn't think it... At the time, I was like...
No, I agree with you. Reading it issue to issue, when it was coming out, it was... Because when I first started getting back into comics, I was just reading the limited series. That was my way of fooling myself into believing I wasn't all the way back in. I was just reading a few things. And so when I was reading it, I was enjoying it, but I didn't get the scope that I got as I was reading Watchmen issue to issue. Mm-hmm. So I recommend it. I recommend going out and getting it. And make up your mind for yourself, and let us know what you think, because
it does read like an '80s book, though. I mean,
definitely.
When I flipped through it, just not recently, but the last time, I was like, "Whew, that still reads like an '80s book."
Yeah, I've always wanted to go back and reread it, and maybe we'll make that a book of the month club somewhere down the road.
They've been asking for it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another guest, two guests on the phone. The guys who are responsible for the Futurist movie. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Thanks for having us on.
Hey, no problem. So you want to introduce yourselves?
My name is Brad Winderbaum. I am the writer and director of The Futurist.
And I am Scott Kramer, the exec producer of the short film and producing the feature with Brad.
And Scott, Jamie and I met you down in San Diego.
Right. I met you guys at your little, we had a little time set aside that you guys had. I think it was from the DC booth.
Yep.
And, yeah, it was really good to meet you guys face-to-face. And that was only, I think, I don't listen to one or two podcasts after that. Before that, excuse me. After that, I'm still listening.
I hope so.
Yeah, of course.
Otherwise, this is a very short phone call.
Before that, I was lucky enough to listen to it before Comic-Con, so I got the chance to meet you guys, which is great.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually, Scott turned me on to you guys, and I've enjoyed listening to you ever since.
Excellent.
Cool.
So you sent us a copy of The Futurist, and we checked it out, and I think it's safe to say that we were all very intrigued.
Cool. Very cool. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I mean, we sat down, and we didn't realize that it was like a 15-minute short. So Peter and I scheduled this time with Jamie to go over to his house and make sure we had, like 2 hours or an hour and a half or whatever. And we sit down, we get our drinks, and we put the dog in the crate, and get everything all quiet. And we start watching, and it finally starts getting like really good. And then the credits roll, and we're all looking at each other going, what the hell is this? We pick up the tape, like something wrong with the tape? What's going on?
Oh, no. Well, the good news is that we were developing the future right now. So soon enough, you'll be able to see the rest of the story.
Excellent. So the short was just to get interest in people? Is that what it was for?
Absolutely. I mean, basically, I've been a comic book fan my whole life, and actually, I'm coming from the art world, and I went into the film world, but still and always I've drawn like most of my inspiration from comic books. So when I made The Futurist, I was really interested in creating a character that could exist in a number of different media. And so the short film is really kind of like the first punch that shows, all right, this is who the character is. This is kind of the tone of who he is. Now let's develop the feature. Let's develop the graphic novel. Let's develop the video game.
So are you going to go back and just expand on the story that was in the short, or is it going to be a different story altogether?
It expands on the story. I mean, we'll be revising history to a large degree. We obviously. We get more in. We go deeper into who the characters are, but more than that, we expand kind of where the character goes and how everybody got to their current predicament.
For our listeners, how about a quick synopsis of what that short was about?
Well, it's about the first person who travels through time. This guy, Charles Guthrie, and when he goes into the future, he witnesses his own death and is forever changed by it. And when he comes back, he, now facing like the reality of his own mortality, tries to take his life, and through a series of failed suicide attempts, realizes that he can't be killed, that his death is predestined, and that whether he likes it or not, he's going to die at that particular time, at that particular place. And it's through his reuniting with his true love, his fiancée who's been searching for him, that he realizes that this isn't an impediment, this is actually a superpower. And since he can't be killed until that moment, he's free to put himself in harm's way over and over and over again for the sake of good, to save people, yada, 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 and becomes a futurist superhero.
It was. I did really like how he starts to understand that he can't die no matter what he does until his number's up. So that was kind of cool, and I imagine I'm envisioning what might come in a full length feature where we get to see him fighting all kinds of crime and never having to worry about any kind of repercussions on himself. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he does. He's not going to die.
Exactly.
That was
it's really interesting, like writing and creating a character, a heroic character who who doesn't have any stress in any kind in death in a situation where he's staring death in the eye, because he can be completely nonchalant about knowing that what the outcome is. He knows he's going to be fine.
When I first read the short, one of the things that really interested me was this idea of knowing your death. And a lot of times when books or movies have kind of approached this subject, it was handled one of two ways. Either purely dramatic, where someone's told, you have 6 months to live, so they want to kind of do all the things they never did in life before they pass away. And the other one was more of a, kind of a thriller where have to find out, what happens, why I die on that date, and prevent it. And what Brad did here was something totally new, which was accepting your fate and using fate to your advantage.
Where, just to play devil's advocate, because he can't be killed, where's the drama then come from? If he is nonchalant as a character, I assume he's not always going to be, haha, I can't die, so I can just do anything. There has to be some conflict somewhere, correct?
Right. In fact, it's funny you should put it like that, because there's an artist friend of mine named Brittany Crump who we just put up 2 comic strips on our website by her, where her kind of take on the character is that haha, I can't be killed. And the truth is that the drama in the script comes from as time passes, as we get closer to his moment of death, the people around him start to try to manipulate the situation. Especially his fiancée tries to stop it, and she really tries to fight fate, and in many ways it becomes her conflict. But also it's a mystery. I mean, the person who assassinates the Futurist is a big reveal. And there's a lot of tension in that. And there without giving too much away, there are the Futurist obviously is not nonchalant past the first 30 pages of the script. He really starts to feel the pressure of being a superhero, and also knowing that, I mean, in a world where destiny is set, in the 12 Monkeys kind of view of time travel, as opposed to the Back to the Future view of time travel. You kind of, he has to face the reality of what happens when he's not enough, what happens when he's too late and the person dies, what kind of invigorates him to go back out and fight crime over and over again.
Yeah, just to extend on that, the only thing he knows is that when he dies, that's all he knows. He doesn't know that if there's a person in the middle of the street who's about to be run over. I mean, I'm giving an example from the short, but he doesn't know that if he tries to save that person isn't still going to die. So there's a lot of drama there, a lot of conflict there. He might know that he's immortal, but he doesn't know what everyone else's fate is.
Right.
Cool. Is this something where, when you do the feature, it'll then continue into the other media, like you said, or is the feature, once you get to the full length, is that going to be its own self-contained beginning, middle, end story?
It's interesting. I've been writing and developing a lot of different stories, and the Futurist is definitely kind of the first fully produced idea. And I being a comic book fan my whole life, I really appreciate the idea of continuity and having a single continuity for your characters to interact with. And whether or not, people from one idea kind of cross over into another, it's comforting to me to know that they exist in a single continuity. In fact, so with that said, yeah, the Futurist, all the material that ever gets developed in the Futurist will, to the best of my ability, exist in one single timeline. In fact, I think I read an interview with Quentin Tarantino once where he said that it was after he did Pulp Fiction. He said, Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs exist in the same, world together. All those characters exist in the same world together. And then I read online a few years ago that there had been this idea for a script he had that was never made, where the two brothers from Dusk Till Dawn were going to face off against the John Travolta character and the Mr. Blonde character from Reservoir Dogs as brothers in some kind of shoot 'em up prequel to all those movies.
So the feature is under production now. You said so. This is a independent production here. You know, you're not backed by Warner Brothers here.
It's actually in development. The goal is to develop a script and bring on some other people onto the project that would make it attractive to a studio or an independent financier and what have you. I mean, it can go. It's one of those kind of superhero films that doesn't necessarily have to be $100 million big budget special effects bonanza. Granted, if Warner Brothers did come to us and said that's the movie we want to make, I think I speak for Brad and say we won't turn them down.
Right.
But then again, if we want to make kind of a little smaller budget, kind of psychological thriller, something that's a little more kind of independent minded. We're developing ideas in that avenue as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the movie will be made eventually, whether or not it's Superman or Donnie Darko or Clerks. Or I should say Pi. It will be made eventually. It's just a question of how and what route works best for us at that time. But also the other thing is that the feature version of the Futurist is in my mind is really just kind of the tip of the iceberg. I'm far more interested in developing properties that could exist in a variety of media, like I said.
The John Tuber show that's in the short is a great just a great idea that the whole that he's in the future and it's a great device, I should say, because the guy is just out there, the host of that show, and I thought it lent a kind of like manic vibe to the whole future, of this guy's. Even though we keep saying future, and we don't mean like decades into the future, but,
right. It's 4 years,
right? And just that character and that device, I thought really helped to kind of differentiate between the past and the future, and I think you had something really cool going with that.
Thanks. Yeah, definitely. If you look at the state of the media and the world around us, we're getting more and more ideas and ideas about the way we act and exist from the television especially, but now from every single technological advancement. Kind of in a way, it separates us from it's taking over, and it's based on ideas that by Jodorowsky, and his views of the future, and some kind of just real a eclectic craziness, Verhoeven movies, that kind of thing, where the media really is dictating the world that you live in.
So, tell our audience where they can go to see some of what we're talking about.
Go to thefuturistmovie.com, and you can watch the trailer to the film there. You can look at I did a 6-page comic book that you can look up at the site. Like I said, it has those drawings by Brittany Crump, and you can check out more of her work at crumplife.com. So you can also feel free to email me at brad@thefuturistmovie.com. And
we'll also have on the website any festivals we get into. Where we've in consideration for festivals all over the world, various film festivals and what have you. And once we hear from a festival, we'll put that information on the web as well. So anyone who wants to check out the film on the big screen, which I highly urge. I think it's if you enjoy it on the small screen, you'll definitely dig it on the big screen. So definitely check back on the website for that. And also, Brad mentioned that we had a friend of ours do kind of her take on the Futurist. That's kind of an open call. So any listeners out there who are comic book artists, writers, or what have you, who are kind of intrigued by the Futurist and want to do their own take on it, please contact us and let us know.
Also, I want to thank Jeff Klock. I know I listened to a podcast you guys did with him a while back, and he made sure to plug the website, so I wanted to make sure to return the favor and tell everyone to check out jeffklock.com. And his book for How to Read Superhero Comics and Watch is a major influence on me.
Yeah, Jeff was very, very excited about your movie.
Oh yeah, I mean Jeff and I are we met a few years ago as he was developing the book, and since then have swapped ideas like back and forth, and he is a big Futurist fan, and a constant kind of source of inspiration for me. So.
We got quite a few listeners who, when he's been on twice now, and they just love when he comes on. He really just knows his stuff, and he's a mile-a-minute talker. But
he's great, and that's all him too. I'll tell you, it's really amazing.
No chemical enhancement there.
No, I know. I know what you're saying. Believe me, it's hard to believe, but yeah, that's all him.
Hey, do you know about the New York Comic-Con in February?
I know. I can't believe it. I may have to go out to New York for it. I'm from New York originally. Right now I'm living in L.A. So I really might have to take a trip out there. It's exciting if they're going to do it.
Cool. I thought maybe you might have pushed to try to get in there, but you're talking about just going there as a fan.
Well, yeah, most likely.
Are they having any sort of film festival like they do at Comic-Con?
I don't know for sure, but I know they want it to be a multimedia event like Comic-Con.
All right.
So you might want to, if you go on their website and email whoever, they have some emails on there, and it's possible they could add you to the list.
Yeah, that'd be great to have a screening there.
That would be so much fun.
Cool.
Did you do a screening at San Diego?
No, the film was not finished. So hopefully this San Diego coming up.
Cool.
Which it's scary how you leave that convention and already got to book hotels and plan your trip for the next time.
Yeah, exactly.
A year later.
Yeah.
That or you sleep in your car.
Exactly.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks very much for joining us, and thanks for sending us the movie. It was cool.
No problem. Our pleasure. Really appreciate you giving us time to tell you about it.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Hey, all right. Well, good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 That's thefuturistmovie.com.
Yeah. I like the idea.
Yeah.
Now that I know that they're going to do more with it, because when I was done with that, I was like, okay, but now what?
Right.
I thought that was it. But now that I know they're going to, expand on the story, they're going to take it farther, you're going to see more, I'm kind of excited now. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it, and hopefully it will get made. I mean, the way they're talking, it's going to get made one way or another, come hell or high water, but I'm now kind of excited to see what they do.
It's almost like, and I didn't want to say anything to them because I don't want them to think I'm comparing it, but after seeing Unbreakable, I was like, oh, come on, get this into a comic book, get this somewhere. Don't just let this die. This is a property that could go, if it's treated in the right, you want to keep it in that same kind of atmosphere. You don't want to just suddenly make it a superhero book. But
yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like, I do want to see more of these things happening where you get the feature film and then you get the comic. And I mean, I'm not sure if we've ever had. It's almost like when X-Files started out as a series and then went into the movie.
Right.
That was cool. And then went back to the series. That was neat. I like that. And I know there have been comics of certain movies, like Army of Darkness and Tomb Raider was a video game that became a comic that became a movie, but it would really be cool if something could really bounce back and forth. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Should we also talk about the other...
Let's do it.
Other movies, fan films, I guess you could call
them.
Do it. One we got is Bite Me Fanboy. Nifty Comics, Matt Nastos, I believe that's his name.
Yep.
Feature fan film, however you want to call it. Highly, highly, just, if you are a comic book reader, everything is in there. I mean, from the whole dressing up as a superhero, from going to a comic store, to going to a convention, to having arguments about, Mike Barron versus Mark Waid's Flash, I mean, that was in there. I was like, get the hell out.
Yeah. It was like Mallrats to the next level, because it was way past mainstream, totally into geekdom. So
yeah. I was having comic store flashbacks watching that, because I've worked in a comic book store for like 10 years, and God, I had so many flashbacks in all the scenes, revolving around the comic store, and then just the scenes where the main guys were just sitting around talking at their apartment. That was like they had microphones at some of our parties that we've been at. That, it's like, damn, they've been listening to us. But it was enjoyable. I thought there were parts of that kind of dragged a little bit. I really didn't care about the whole relationship story and all that kind of stuff. But man, anytime they got into that comic store, and just for the whole scene where the guy lights on fire the Pikachu in front of the little kid who loves Pokemon, I have wanted to do that for so many kids, from whether it be Pogs to Pokemon to whatever. I've wanted to do that so many times. It was so nice to see somebody do it.
I mean, the little quick synopsis of it is that the main character brings home his Green Lantern battery prop, dresses up as Green Lantern, and the outfit is horrible, and he puts on panties as the superhero trunks, and his girlfriend catches him and breaks up, and the whole thing is, that he doesn't pay enough attention. His priorities are messed up.
He's supposed to have dinner with and meet her parents, and he blows that off to dress up like cross-dressing Hal Jordan.
And then the rest of the movie is just him, whining and bitching, and his friends are trying to tell him to either just shit or get off the pot. And
he's trying to find more women.
Right. Oh, that is funny. The date where he goes out with the one who is a Johnny the Homicidal Maniac fan, and she's talking. He's telling him to speak to the fork, which I don't know if that's in the comic or not. It was funny.
It was very funny.
That was funny. And of course, then it gets to the ending, and they have a funny blooper reel on the DVD that they sent us.
Yeah, and you can check out their website. It's niftycomics.com/fanboy is the page that's dedicated to the Bite Me Fanboy. And you can actually order the DVD if you want. It's $19.95 plus $4.50 shipping and handling. And I think it's different from the version that they sent us. I think they said there were some extra features and stuff on that DVD and stuff. So
this was just a screener copy that we got.
I mean, as long as you know what you're getting, it's a I won't say it's not professionally made, but it's not Hollywood professionally made. But it's well worth $19.95 just for the jokes they throw in about comic books alone. It's well worth it.
Yeah, the guy who draws the secret origins of the Red Bee. Of the Red Bee. So stupid. It's funny. Check that out. And then we have another one that we also watched.
Yeah, we've gotten a whole bunch of promo films here. It's kind of cool. Freaking Siskel and Ebert over here. It's called Broken. It's a film by Alex Ferrari, and it's just a short film. It actually has nothing to do with comic books. It's just an action film. What was it about? Running time 19 minutes and 30 seconds. So right on the DVD. He did it as a promo, as a demo for himself, I guess, to get the attention of Hollywood studios or whomever to work for, and it was extremely well done. It's whatisbroken.com. You can go there and check it out. I think you can watch it on the website. I'm not 100% sure though.
Or you can get the trailer or something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, the lighting and everything was outstanding. Like, I don't know why, but all the things that I saw on this, the lighting just struck me as 100% professional, like Hollywood quality lighting. Just
I thought the production value on this was really, really well done. I really did. This was well put together.
Yeah. Great camera shots, tracking shots. All the lingo that goes with camera angles, and it's all there. Just some really interesting things, to build mood. I was very surprised. I was very surprised.
Yeah, I wasn't, because the guy emailed me a few times and said, "Hey, will you please check out my movie, and I want to know what you think." And I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. What's this going to be like? And then I get it, and first of all, the DVD is actually like printed, like the picture printed on the DVD. I'm like, okay, this guy's not messing around. And I popped it in and was like, oh, this is like a real movie.
Yeah.
So
the main actors I thought were pretty good. Some of the side actors, were all right as far as their acting ability went. Who am I really to to say, but I really thought the main the female protagonist and her nemesis, I thought those actors were really good, and then all the rest.
And it was an interesting story. Like I wanted to see.
Yeah,
where
I
else
wanted
they
to
can go
see
with it.
what happened next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because this is obviously a teaser, for something bigger.
Yeah, it's cool. It's funny you say that about the actors, Jamie, and it makes you realize when you see on the big screen some Hollywood production and there's some actor you say, oh, they suck. You put them against the best of the small time actors, and even the worst Hollywood guy is so much better. At least maybe it's just the overall quality of the movie that makes us think that they're better actors or whatever. Right? Editing, maybe that's it too. But you really realize the difference between an amateur and a professional.
Yeah, because when you watch Bite Me Fanboy, you get a lot of scenes where it's just one shot. It's a long scene with the camera just focused on the scene. Doesn't move too much, and it's a long thing, and that's hard to sustain. If you're not, number one, acting. What I mean by acting, when you're not actually doing something, when it's just like a talking heads movie, it's kind of like what Kevin Smith always says. He goes, "My movies are boring. They're filmed boring because nothing happens," and it's true. You have to be doing something,
right?
And then you look at Broken, and there's a lot more cuts. You're watching things from different points of view. There's people standing around the room, so you're watching it from their point of view. But even in that Broken, there were a few times where the main nemesis guy did have a long stretch that he had to do something, and you sort of saw his acting come out a little bit. It was the quality just dipped a little, and I think that's, and that's something I start to look at in movies ever since we did Crusaders. It's like you don't see many long shots, just
right.
Except it has to be something like you pointed out, Eyes Wide Shut,
right?
Where there is a long scene where it's just cameras in one place. But what are they doing? They're actually doing something. They're not really talking,
right?
So I've noticed that, and I think that is, and I've noticed even in Crusaders, there's a few shots where it's just boom, camera, long dialogue. Woo, that's boring. It's
yeah.
Woo. So, and that's just something you learn. You just learn through the process.
Well, it just takes longer because you got to reshoot every scene 3 different times with 3 different camera angles and splice it all together. And
they obviously have
in Crusaders, we didn't have the time to do that.
Yeah. But that I really do think editing, some of these Oscar performances, some of those Oscars should go to the editors.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. That's
the way they cut it.
Yeah, and certain directors will say they edit their own movies and things like that, but I think it takes an eye for it, and some directors just can't do it. There's just they need that editor to tell them.
Is that the big thing with George Lucas, and when he edited some of his or direct some of it, I should say?
Don't even start. Get me started with George Lucas and directing.
Yeah,
I mean the best Star Wars were directed by people other than George Lucas, as far as I'm concerned. But that's another story altogether. Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy who freaking taught Lucas in film school or whatever. It's no wonder he's teaching.
Yeah. Speaking of cut movies, just on the website, on our forum, LT from I Read Comics put on this recut West Side Story trailer, and it's recut to look like a horror movie. Have you seen this yet, Jamie?
I saw it.
I tried to download it just with my dial-up, and so damn slow.
Yeah. They did that. Then they did The Shining. The Shining
as
a
one
feel-good
is
movie.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God, so funny. There's a Titanic one that I posted.
I saw that.
That's like a horror movie, even more horror movie than the actual film itself. And then there's Cabin Fever. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't.
That one's about the flesh-eating thing that it's a bunch of kids who go to the woods and they get infected somehow and they start dying and I don't know. It's not zombie-ish, but they made that into kind of like a weepy melodrama where one of the girls is dying of cancer or something like that, and they're playing against that. This is hysterical. My new favorite website is what the heck's it? It's hold on. Where's that? I had it written down.
You only posted 17 links.
I did. I went crazy. I went absolutely crazy. I had it right here. Oh, here it is. Transbuddha.com. Transbuddha.com. They have a bunch of these recut trailers on there and some other funny things like funny commercials from other countries and wacky news stuff that happens, homemade videos of people skateboarding off their houses and things like that. it's just these recut trailers are so hysterical. I want more. If you are out there and you're doing these, I want more. They're just great.
Somebody should recut Crusaders.
There you go.
And see what they can do with that. Can't get any worse.
I just want them to take. I actually put on the thing. I want somebody to take all the superhero movies and put together a JLA movie, and then take all the Marvel movies and put like a Secret Wars movie together. So they're just hysterical.
I think an all singing and all dancing Superman would be pretty fun.
It's just great. So if you check out that website and look for those few recut trailers, they are just brilliant. Brilliant.
Great.
It's great.
Brilliant.
We got an email from Brian Miller, colorist extraordinaire.
He's a colorist extraordinaire.
And he was listening to when we talked to Eric Larson, and he thought it was interesting when Eric was saying how in Japan you can get comics in vending machines. And so he wrote a really interesting email concerning comics in vending machines. He said the story about comic vending machines made him remember when he was coloring X-Men right before the first movie came out. He suggested, well, I'll read it. He says, I suggested comic vending at movie theaters to my editors, who liked the idea a lot. We already knew a Spidey movie was in the works, and other Marvel films had received the green light by that time, so it seemed like a good fit. At the same time, a music company was pitching their idea to sell movie soundtracks at theaters. Remember, this was long before iPod and iTunes. We set up a conference call with the big wigs at Marvel to pitch it to their licensing and marketing people. I was literally laughed off the phone. The reaction I received was basically, what does a colorist know about marketing? He says, of course, they had no idea that I had left my job as a creative director at a large ad agency to become a colorist. They had no way of knowing that I had helped to launch many consumer products such as toys, clothing, and sporting goods. I may have had a clue about branding and marketing after all. From a business standpoint, a comic vending route makes so much sense. Most vendors buy their route just as they might buy a franchise from McDonald's. Their route may include a section of a large city or several small towns. The supply company, Diamond, Marvel, DC, whomever, would lease the machines to the vendor, and the vendor would purchase the comics from the supplier at a discount, just as the comics retailers do now. The vendor then gets shopping centers, retail stores, theaters, etc. to allow the machine to be set up on their property. The vendor may have to pay rent or pay a percentage of sales or both. Why is this good for comics? All of the risk is on the vendor. It is up to the vendor to find good locations and multiple locations to make it worth the vendor's effort. How many soda machines, sticker machines, candy machines do you see every day? How many of those locations could also support a comic vending machine? As with any vending route, an enterprising person could make a very good living, while others may try and fail. The supplier exposes the general public to comics on a daily basis. The machines are also like billboards, plus the supplier sells more comics. The retail location has no additional overhead other than the small amount of power used by the machine. Their employees do not stock or service the machine. Any money they receive is straight profit for them. Machines may be placed in low-end and high-end locations, areas that may not have the population to put a comic shop, or areas where the retail space may be too expensive to open a comic shop. Why this does not hurt retailers. Machines would hold approximately 9 titles, and in some instances books would be exposed to sunlight. True fans would need to go to shops for more selection or for non-newsstand copies. Machines do not allow the user to flip through the issue, which is good for the vendor but also implies selling only the most recognizable and popular titles from the machines. Machines may be out of stock of a certain title or may not be as up-to-date as your local comic shop. If the local comic shop owner also owned the vending route, the machines could contain ads promoting the shop. Hey kid, like Spider-Man? Come to our shop for toys, games, and more comics. Anyway, this is the gist of what Hi-Fi presented and pitched to Marvel years ago. I still think it is a good idea, but what do I know? I'm just a colorist. What do you and the other geeks think? I mean, that would be interesting.
Yeah, what the hell does he know? He's a colorist. No, that's... I agree. There's definitely a spot out there for that kind of selling in a vending machine. I've thought that for a while.
I mean, I think in our example, in our city, there are 2 malls. One mall, which is the low rent mall, which is where the comic shop is, because we get the guy gets an enormous space for a very reasonable rent. And then there's the other mall, which is the high rent district where all the rich people go to buy all their stuff with the big name stores in it and all that stuff. And there's no comic shop in there because, well, Lem never put one in there because the rent was too much. Even though, you know, I always said, hey, wouldn't you sell more because people have a lot more cash to spend in that mall, but even though your rent's high, but he always never wanted to take the chance, and I can understand that. But there's a perfect example of, okay, there's no comic book shop in that mall, so put a freaking vending machine in. And especially, like, again, like this, like Brian says, if Lem was the proprietor of that vending machine, he's only drawing business to his store. And then you put Superman and Batman and Spider-Man and the X-Men and, like, you know, hey, it would be an interesting experiment.
That kind of selling is also what they do at supermarkets, like with, Nabisco and Coca-Cola. You know, my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law, he's a salesman for that kind of stuff, and he goes and bounces around at different supermarkets and puts all the Coke products up, and if they're out of stock, he has to stock it, and if they want more, they go through him, and he's basically the sales representative for that. And so take that same idea with the vending machines, and I see vending machines at bus stops, so you see them at restaurants sometimes, at certain restaurants, you know, with the little, like he says, the stickers and the bouncing balls and the, plastic rings, that stuff sits there for years.
Sure.
And a kid goes by, and maybe if it is a comic store that's footing the bill for one of these, maybe they're not, $2.99 a book, $2.50 a book, maybe they're $1. Maybe they're $1.50. Maybe you lose a little money, but you gain maybe a new reader and you get some advertising for your comic store. I don't know.
Look, you see something like this in an airport. I mean, going out to San Diego, we went to a couple different airports. I saw some newsstands, but I didn't see anything really there for kids. As far as something, you could get a magazine, you could get Newsweek, you could get, any adult. I don't mean adult as in. Well, actually, I do because there are some adult movies, adult magazines there. But there was really nothing for the kid, like, Mom, I want to read something. Oh, here, go get that. That would be perfect. Something like that in an airport or even train station, whatever. Where you just want to get something to shut your kid up.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like his idea that it's constant exposure. Even if you never buy a comic from those vending machines, if they start popping up all over the place, you start thinking comic books all over the place. Because we always talk about how they're not in the mini markets anymore, they're not at the bookstores anymore, the spinner racks are gone from the drugstore. So maybe you need to replace that with the vending machines that would just constantly reinforce the idea to everyone that there are these things called comic books. They are out there. They are available. Yeah. And then maybe I could even see, Marvel or DC developing a new comic that was, some kind of sampler almost, that was only in the vending machines. Maybe it was on cheaper paper, again, to keep the price down or whatever. Just, I'll buy that one for $1.50 or $2 or whatever. And then now that exposes me to all of the different Marvel characters or something like that.
Yes, a sampler, but new stories.
Right, exactly.
It wouldn't have to be the top-notch artists or writers, but you could do that, and it wouldn't cost quite as much. And again, it's trying to pique the interest. It's an interesting article in CBG this month, the Peter David article about comic books and why kids aren't reading them. I'm not going to go into it real deep, but it's he was with his daughter at a park, and he saw a kid with like Spider-Man, and he usually doesn't go up to kids especially and tell them he writes the comics and so on and so forth, because he's worried about what the parents will think, that he's trying to lure his kids away or whatever. But he went up to a kid and he was talking to him about Spider-Man. The kid says, I'm Spider-Man's #1 fan. I have the movies. I have this. I have that. And his older brother came over and said, yeah, he loves Spider-Man. And Peter David basically said to him, well, do you read the comics? And they both crinkled up their nose and go, no. We're not reading the comics. And just this, the what he comes up with, his reasoning and behind it is just rather interesting, and just recommend going out there if you have the CBG and reading it. Just kind of an interesting take. And then he kind of talks about, are there other mediums where he kind of goes like, when was the last time you read a James Bond book from seeing the James Bond movies? You may have seen all the movies, but have you ever read any of the books? Does the Zorro movie coming out, does that make you want to go out and read the new Zorro novel that just came out?
Right.
And so on and so forth. So he's kind of showing the movies aren't going to exactly lead into somebody buying the comic, and I thought that was a rather interesting take on that whole argument that we've been having.
Yeah, I've never read a James Bond, but I guess for me it's different because I know that they're out there. I know that there are James Bond novels. Mm-hmm. I read so many books and so much stuff. I don't have time to read James Bond novels, and I guess I've just kind of chalked them up to being something that maybe someday, if I'm in a used bookstore and I see one for 50 cents, and I'll just try reading one of the old ones, just see what it's like, and maybe I'll like it. But I'm not in any hurry to read that.
He also used King Arthur and Sherlock Holmes too. And the funny thing is, I've actually, going down that list, I've read most of what he was talking about. So I thought that was kind of interesting also, that he would use those examples, and I had read a lot of what it said because I wanted to. Sure. Exactly. It made me, the movies piqued my interest enough to want to go and read the source material. But then that's just me. I love the history and the backstory and all, and to see where things came from.
I have to, right now, I have to make a huge apology to our buddy Drew M. He's been listening to our show for a long time, and he likes that Tom does the movie news segments and some other people do some other segments, and so he decided he's a big DVD freak, so he decided he was gonna do a DVD segment for us once a month with any geek-related DVDs. Could be comic book movies, could be Buffy things, stuff like that, stuff that geeks would like. So I said, that's great. That would be an awesome addition to our show. So he did one for September. I completely forgot to play it. All of September went by. I never played the segment. Shit, I'm an ass. He says, are you going to play it? I said, oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry, I forgot. All right, well, I'll do one for October. Okay, Drew, cool.
It's November 1st.
November 1st. I am now going to play the October DVD news because I don't want Drew to feel like he did it for nothing.
This is the first time we've heard about it, too. At least
yeah, I forgot to mention it to everybody in this room. I'm so sorry, Drew, and we do want to hear. So let's play it, and then hopefully Drew doesn't hate us so much, and he'll actually do one for November, and I'll actually play it in a timely fashion. So here's October's DVD news.
Hello everyone, this is Drew M. from the Drew M. Podcast at drewm.libsyn.com. I'm here to give you the DVD releases for October of 2005. For the first week of October, which is October the 4th, we have The Fly 1 and 2 finally making their way in a special edition DVD, I believe. We have Kolchak, The Night Stalker Complete Series. We have Star Trek Nemesis Collector's Edition. We have Stargate SG-1 Season 8. On October the 11th, we have Mutant X Season 3 and a zombie movie called Undead making their way to DVD. On October the 18th of 2005, we have Adventures of Superman, the complete first season. We have all of the original Batman movies that Joel Schumacher and Tim Burton made. We also have Elektra, the director's cut. We have Batman Begins. We have He-Man Masters of the Universe, Season 1, Volume 1. We have Land of the Dead, which is the new George Romero movie. And we have Twilight Zone, Season 4. And on the last Tuesday of the month, which is October the 25th, we have Alias, Season 4. We have Danger Mouse, complete seasons 3 and 4. and we have Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 3. Those are the releases for October. I'll see you again in November. If you want to have a more up-to-date list of what's coming out, and not just the Geek DVDs, you can check me out at drewm.libsyn.com, where I give you a weekly summary of what's coming out on DVD, video games, and sometimes CDs. Thank you very much, and so long, and thanks for all the fish.
So long and thanks for all the fish. So sad that it should come to this. We try to warn you all, but oh dear. You may not share our intellect, which might explain your disrespect for all the natural wonders that grow around you. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
That's brilliant.
Oh, I love that song.
Mm-hmm.
So, I apologize again, Drew. We still love you, and I hope you still love us. So, if you're so inclined, please do it November.
And maybe we won't wait till January to play it.
That's right. I mean, it's not so bad. If anybody missed any of those things and didn't realize they came out, now they can run over to Best Buy and pick them up. But
sure,
because that actually was a big geek month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And today, I mean, as recording is Star Wars Episode 3 out today.
I had a woman at work, one of the ladies at work, she was like all over that. Oh my God, I got to get home so I can watch that again. Made sure her husband went out and got it. So.
Jeez.
See, I'm all, I didn't pick it up yet, but I certainly will this week while it's still cheap. But since my big screen TV is out of commission and I'm waiting to finish redoing my basement till I get my projector, I'm almost like don't want to watch these movies. I'm not going to watch Star Wars on a 27-inch TV. No effing way. That's going to be the first thing I watch on my new 96-inch screen when that's all done. It might be about 9 months, so the stack of DVDs I get will be huge. But
next year this time, you'll just be watching it.
That's right.
But damn it, it'll be the first one I watch.
That's right. All right. So, Peter, you have a topic of discussion for us.
We're going to do top 5 villains. Dun, dun, dun.
Villains.
Those characters we love to hate and hate to love.
So, you want to go first?
Sure. This wasn't easy because we made it all encompassing. It wasn't like top 5 DC villains and top 5 Marvel villains. It was just top 5 villains, and I was just like, I just don't know where to begin. I'm not going to rank mine, and I can't say, I'm not saying that these are the best villains in comics. These are just my own personal,
our personal favorites.
Right, our personal favorites. And so I'll start with the Sentinels, Marvel's Sentinels. I think the Sentinels should always be these fear-inducing, huge mechanical monsters. When they're just used willy-nilly and, they're in every other story, and that kind of lessens their impact. But the Sentinels from Marvel's, the 4-issue Alex Ross Carpus, that whole scene is incredible. There's a Sentinel scene later in the Joss Whedon Astonishing X-Men run that's really kind of cool. And I think anytime the X-Men see the Sentinels, it should be like, oh shit, here we go. All right, we got to buckle down here.
I actually loved in Mark Miller's run of Wolverine Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
There was, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there was some really, really neat use of the Sentinels.
Oh, I haven't read that yet.
I really liked that. It was like, all of a sudden, it's like, boom, there are the Sentinels. And I was like, oh, that is so cool.
Good, cool. So that's them. One I'm going to... Anton Arcane from the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run. When I was a kid, and I was a kid reading these, we were talking like 1984, so I was like 12, 13. That character scared the bejesus out of me. I loved it.
He wasn't a nice guy.
No, he wasn't.
He definitely wasn't a nice guy.
So if you know the Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, Anton Arcane he really did it for me. I'm going to go with Scourge from the Marvel Universe, but I'm going to go with the Scourge that was in the Thunderbolts, and I won't say anything more than that.
Justice is served.
Justice is served. He was really cool. He got a really cool costume in that, really frightening, really, when you see that last page review, I thought it was really neat. So, check him out. And then I'm going to go with, I almost gave it away for people who haven't read it. The Villain in the Golden Age by James Robinson. Not the Ultra Humanite, not that character, the other main villain. And if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. But the villain in that, and the big reveal in that, and just the awesome issue 4 battle scene in that miniseries, that Elseworld miniseries, is just really good. It's James Robinson, Paul Smith, Golden Age. If you haven't read it, read it. And then I'm going to go with Deathstroke the Terminator, which just goes back to my love of Titans. He had a series in the 90s that I thought watered him down, much like the way Marvel did with like Punisher and all those other characters. But he's finally back on top and doing what I think that character should be doing. You know, his appearance in Identity Crisis.
Killing.
Yeah, just a badass for the money. This is, like he said in Identity Crisis, this ain't personal. It's business.
Yep.
And he always had a really cool design. Even when they changed his design, I kind of liked it. So he's right up there on my top.
Well, they always say a bad guy is tough to sustain his own book.
Yeah.
And I guess they had to water down the book a little bit, but it still was a good book.
It was a good series, and it lasted like 70 issues or something like that. Yeah, it was long, but it wasn't until his resurgence in Identity Crisis that he got back. And I should say, Jeff Johns' Teen Titans.
I was Jeff Johns' Teen Titans kind of brought him back, especially with the new Ravager and all that.
So that's my top 5.
You want me to go? Or you want to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Mine kind of has an order, but only because the number 1 will be my top favorite. I jumped on Preacher with Hair Star.
Yes.
He was a bad guy. I particularly like bad guys who are well defined and who almost you come to pity.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of, by the time that series was done, I almost felt sorry for the guy. He was still a son of a bitch, and you still were happy to see what happened to him at the end, but he went through so much. And he believed so much. I mean, you almost came to believe what he believed. Only a person that committed would go through what he did and still keep going. I would have stopped after one of the first couple things happened to him. I won't go into that for those who haven't read the series, but he's one of my favorite villains. Next would be Darkseid. I've always liked the New Gods, and I've always thought that Darkseid was an interesting character. I enjoyed what Kirby did with it, and I actually enjoyed even more what Walt Simonson and John Byrne did with him in the new Jack Kirby's Fourth World. Kind of gave him more of a background. You understood where he was coming from. You kind of understood his point of view, even though he was a tyrannical, maniacal, maniac, bad guy. You still understood there was almost a method to his madness. Next for me would be the Red Skull, just because I'm a huge Cap fan, and there's no... he's just one of those bad guys that just keeps coming and coming, no matter how many times you kill him. I mean, he just keeps coming back in one way or another, and that's, again, they've delved into his past, given him a good backstory, I thought, between... Whether you read the Mark Waid backstory or read the backstories that I think it was Roger Stern gave him in going up into Cap 300, just really good stuff. Number 2, I love the Joker. The Joker, for a bad guy, I mean, he's almost a penultimate bad guy in the DC universe. Just again, just crazy. He's just a bad guy. I mean, he kills. And the whole argument, why doesn't Batman just shoot him? Why didn't I don't know, but it's because then he'd be gone and you wouldn't have the bad guy around anymore. And anybody who's listened to me before knows my number 1 bad guy is Victor Von Doom. He's just a great character, made even greater by John Byrne. I mean, when he first started out, he was a cardboard cutout of a bad guy. He really and truly was. They've built on him. Byrne, I thought, more than anybody else, built a backstory, built some compassion into him. You see why he does what he does. You understand that he loves his country. Yeah, he's kind of hell-bent on taking over the world, but what tyrant megalomaniac isn't. And he's just I just love reading him. I think he's just a great character, and that's my favorite. Those are my 5 favorite villains.
All right, now when I read this list, I want everyone to know that Jamie and I did not have a conference before this. To do this list, I just thought of basically the first 5 bad guys that came to my mind, because those are the ones that I think about the most. And so, I didn't do lots of research and try to remember some amazing bad guy villain that I forgot about or something. I just went with the ones that are right here, and after I thought about it a little bit, I realized that I think that they make sense. So in no particular order, I have Dr. Doom, just because he's great, because he's so powerful and so arrogant and just, and he rules a whole country. He's like the only bad guy that every bad guy wants to rule the world, but they end up ruling nothing. But Doom actually rules something all the time, or most of the time in continuity or whatever, and that's kind of cool to me. Number 2, Galactus. He's every time I read, if it's well written, when you read and Galactus shows up, it's like, well, shit, what the hell are you gonna do now? I mean, what do you do with Galactus? You can't kill him. You can't do it. It's impossible. And if he wants to eat the Earth, he's gonna eat the Earth, and you're not gonna stop him. So you always have to, really, it really brings about a hopelessness that is good. If you're going for that as a villain, that's what a villain wants to. That's the reaction you should get from encountering a villain. Darkseid, because I don't know, he just stands out of all the people in the DC universe. He's my only DC villain on the list, and he just stands out for me. I read that Simonson Orion series, and Darkseid was very prominent in that, and I really liked it, and for whatever reason, he just stands out in my mind as somebody that's cool. And the whole apocalypse thing and those pits of fire and all that. What are they called? Fire pits. Fire pits, yeah.
Yeah, the fire pits of apocalypse.
And it's just cool. So I have him down. And then I have the Kingpin. Because I think his relationship with Daredevil is interesting to me. He's a badass guy who, orders people to their death willy-nilly. Well, not willy-nilly, he's got a scheme for everything, but, without even thinking, he'll have someone killed. But yet he knows who Daredevil is, he knows his secret identity, and he doesn't exploit it. It's like he enjoys the challenge, because his life is he has everything he wants, so he's a deeper thinker than a lot of your villains that just want everyone out of their way, and they just want to succeed all the time. And they just want Spider-Man to die, or they just want Batman to die. They don't care. But Kingpin kind of keeps him around because it's interesting for him. It's a challenge. It's like a chess game for him,
I just want to preface anybody who is going to hear this and going to be posting on the web. Brian is a few stories behind in his Kingpin, so I'm just going to let it at that.
Okay. And then last, I have the Red Skull. I think it's for 2 simple reasons. He looks really freaking cool. Okay, comics are a visual medium, and the Red Skull always looks cool. And 2, he's a Nazi, and Nazis are the ultimate villains. So that's why I have the Red Skull. I've never even read a heck of a lot of Cap, but the few times that I've encountered the Red Skull in various Marvel comics throughout the years, I just thought he was awesome. So that's who came to my mind. Mm-hmm. So that's my list. And then we have Matt couldn't be here again, so he phoned in and left a voicemail with his villains.
All right, guys. Yeah, I pretty much lied to you, I guess. I'm not able to make this taping either, and just remember, I lie for a living. It's part of pretexting. So out on assignment, and when they say, hey, we need you to work some cases in this area, you can't always say no. I have Comic Geek Speak broadcast to record. So, fortunately, I'm not able to join you today, but again, if I remember correctly, we were going to be discussing top 5 villains. So, here's my list. It might be some surprise to some people, but being a Batman fan that I am, but my first pick would have to be Lex Luthor. To me, he is just a definitive villain for 2 reasons, really. First of all, because his villainy involves, corporate takeover. It's all about the business angle of it, and that I find pretty interesting. Rather than I'm just going to steal money from this bank. The number two thing would be he looks at Superman as the villain and himself more or less as the good guy. And that interests me because he doesn't see himself as a villain, even though he's backstabbing people and making all these corporate deals. And in some aspects, he's like the Donald Trump with better hair. And yes, I know he's bald, but look at Trump's hair. But, he sees himself as a Superman goes rogue, which in some instances, I guess Luthor sees him as going rogue. He's got to be the one that steps up and takes down Superman. So, and I guess in some aspects he mirrors Batman. So that's probably another reason of why he's my favorite villain. Number two, of course, would be the Joker, but specifically the Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Mark Hamill's voice Joker. And if anyone saw Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, I think they really were able to use some of the viciousness that they never could in the cartoon that really cements him as my number two villain. Number three would be Hush, specifically Jim Lee, Jeff Loeb Hush, because now in Gotham Knights he's being way overexposed, and too much of his storyline is being flushed out, and he's pretty much going to go the way of Bane, that after a while you get sick of seeing it. Number four would be the current Reverse Flash. I find the part interesting where he doesn't necessarily see himself so much as a villain as he's doing things to a hero to make them a better hero. That's where he's always doing the Wally. He's always challenging and putting up these other obstacles up against Wally so that, in the end, Wally would be a better hero. And that I find very interesting. Also, the fact that he doesn't really have anything to do with the Speed Force. It's more of he just jumps through different aspects in time, and that's how he is fast. And my fifth favorite would have to be Dr. Octopus. For no other reason than when I started reading comics back in 83, 84, it was Spider-Man. Spider-Man was the hero to me. And any comic I found with Doc Ock, I had to get. I always just found him fascinating in that aspect. And I can't really put my finger on it, but he was my original favorite comic villain, so he's got to make the top five somewhere. I hope the show's going well, and I will talk to you guys at another time. Thanks. Bye.
All right. So there you have it. I'm sure everyone will go on the forum and start posting probably their top five, so that'll be an interesting discussion to see. And maybe I'll probably see some villains that I forgot that I should have put on my list, perhaps. Or...
Well, I mean, this was such a tough list. I could give you top five Batman villains. I could give you top five Superman villains, top five Fantastic Four villains, top five Avengers villains.
Well, that's actually why I thought about. Well, we thought about some other top fives, but then on the forum they put a list, a thread up of which hero has the best rogues gallery, and I went, that's even you got that whole thing aspect too. Who has the best rogues gallery? You know. So
it's that time again, Peter. I think you've had it way too easy lately, so we're gonna see if we can't give you a run for your money here. All right, this one is from David D. in New York City. Question 1, Marvel. Who killed Cypher?
That's a good question. Cypher, Doug Ramsey. Who the hell did kill him? I'm going to say the Goblin Queen.
The answer is the Animator shot him dead under Cameron Hodges' orders in New Mutants number 60 during the Fall of the Mutants. Bonus question. Who were the New Mutants trying to save from the Animator?
During the Fall of the Mutants? Psylocke.
Answer. Bird Brain and the rest of the genetically engineered animates.
Oh, now I know what he's talking about.
Bird Brain had escaped and came to the New Mutants for help and let them back to the island of Dr. Moreau, knockoff island he was from. Yeah. Bird Brain is very similar to Grant Morrison's Beak that would come later in New X-Men. Except Bird Brain doesn't have any fan sites in the Netherlands. These animates, who I believe never appeared again, were not worth Doug Ramsey's death. And I think all Cypher fans would agree. Both of us. Question 2. DC. In the publishing bubble of the early 90s, there were 5 Justice League titles being published simultaneously. Name them, and this one is not so hard, so I propose that there should be no partial credit on this one. Either you get all 5 or you get it wrong. Yeah, that's right, tough guy. Partial credit is for amateurs.
He said during the 90s?
Yeah.
Wow. Justice League America, Justice League Europe, Justice League Task Force, Extreme Justice, and Justice League Quarterly. But I could also say JLA, because that started in the 90s too.
You said Justice League of America.
No. Justice League of America, and then
JLA.
Morrison's JLA. 2 different things.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he's saying the entire... I could also say Justice League and Justice League International, because that was also...
Yep.
There was a...
Well, he has the exact 5 that you listed.
So, yeah.
All right.
So there, stick it in your hat.
Question, all universes. Name 10 comic characters who use a bow as their primary weapon/power. And remember, Peter, real comic book experts don't settle for partial credit. Well, okay, maybe if you get 8 out of 10, but you need 10 to really impress us.
Bow and arrow? Bow and arrow.
He says, now, there are certainly going to be some characters I will not list that you guys know of, so I leave the group to judge. But here is a list to pick from, and he has 13, so he wants you to get 10.
Okay. He's not doing like Green Arrow 1 and Green Arrow 2, right? Or
yes,
is he?
He is.
Oh,
yes.
he is. Okay,
Yeah.
so Oliver Queen, Green Arrow Connor Hawke, Roy Harper, Shadow, Shado, the female thingamabob.
Yes.
Merlin is a DC villain. The Black Spider, or he goes by Spider maybe. He was in Starman. He was also in Green Arrow. He's a Ludlow character. That's an enemy of the Shade. Maya, she was in the Justice League. I think Task Force or something like that. Hawkeye. Yondu, the Guardian of the Galaxy guy who has a bow and arrow.
This just cracks me up because I'm looking at going, who the hell is Yondu? Here it is on the list. You know,
Arrowette from Young Justice.
10.
Is that 10?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I know any more.
Yeah, because he's got a bunch on here that you didn't name, and you named a bunch that aren't on this list.
Right. I know there's some more Marvel ones.
Yeah, go in the vein of Hawkeye.
Let's see, Hawkeye. I mean, there's that new Young Avengers chick. She's like Hawkingbird or Nitrous or something like that. But I don't know if that's that. That might be too recent for him. Who the hell else is in Marvel? There's got to be another Marvel. Bow and arrow Marvel. Oh wait, who's that guy? Is it the Golden Archer or the from Squadron Supreme?
Yeah,
what the hell's
yeah,
his
he
name?
has that one
Golden
down.
Archer. Okay.
He has a chick from Sojourn.
No, he doesn't have her down.
Is that her primary weapon?
Yeah,
bow and arrow.
big time.
Okay.
All right, he's got Trick Shot, the guy who trained Hawkeye.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He's got. Did you say Artemis of the Female Furies?
Okay.
Turok, the dinosaur hunter. He says Shaft. He said there could be a twinge of shame for having to use him in your answer. And he says Robin Hood. I'm sure there was a classic illustrated at some point. So
cool.
So you did well. So that's that. So what do you say? We're close to our time, but I think, do we have time to do a call? To make a phone call?
Yeah.
Let's do one of these real quick.
And ask them what their top 5 villains are.
God, we don't have time for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're really pushing our time limit here.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we
All
are,
right.
aren't we? Hurry up.
Okay, hold on.
Who we calling?
We're calling Bradley Schwartz.
He's been a contributor to the show off and on. I've heard that name before. Got like minutes.
Heard of Sherwood Schwartz, but he won't be home.
So I guess I owed a quarter, right, for that cipher question. Oh, I didn't bring my change. Oh, yeah, there, Bradley Schwartz. Oh, yeah,
It's going to be no answer. You know it.
I'll have to leave a message. Hey, that's fine.
That's good. That's all we have time for.
You've reached Brad Schwartz. Please leave your name, number, and a brief message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.
To page this person, press 5 now. At the tone, please
Howard
record your
Chaykin.
message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Brad. You're not home, man. What's that all about? You know who this is. You missed your chance.
We wanted to talk to you, but you were probably at work.
That's right. You better not just be home with your cell phone turned off or something.
Or upstairs and he's downstairs.
Yeah.
playing
I'm too
video
lazy.
Games.
I'm watching Star Wars.
I don't
recognize.
recognize. What's his phone number? I don't recognize.
That's
it.
right. So anyway, it's Comic Geek Speak calling you, and it's too bad you couldn't join us on the show, but
got to put your name back in rotation.
That's right. So have a great night, and maybe we'll talk to you again. Bye-bye. This is so much fun. We never get to talk to anybody.
I know.
All right, so we have to wrap up the show here.
Yeah, do it.
Like, immediately.
Yes, like we're almost...
Goodbye.
GarageBand's going to explode. All right. If you want to send an email, it's comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. Check out our website, www.comicgeekspeak.com. Thanks to Bob at GameCircuit.net for hosting the files, and thanks to UpAllNightGaming.com for hosting the website. Vote for us at Podcast Alley. It's a new month in November, so please go vote. And big thanks to Drawer Boxes, CollectionDrawer.com for hosting. For sponsoring this episode. Check out their website and order some boxes. And once again, we're brought to you in conjunction with WorldFamousComics.com. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time. See you next time.